Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. Today we're heading to Modern to check out a deck that looks like it could be in Standard. This is White-Green Tokens, as played by Matt Nass at GPLA this past weekend. Anyway, quick reminder before we break down White-Green Tokens in Modern. If you enjoy this deck and want to see it made into videos, take a second, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever is most popular gets made into Much Ado About Nothing videos for next week. Let's talk about White-Green Tokens. This deck, probably the easiest way to break it down is by the curve of what it's trying to do. So there are a million 1-drops that produce mana. You get 2 Evanescence Pilgrims, 4 Birds of Paradise, 4 Noble Hierarchs. So on turn 1, you should almost always have a Mana Dork. They all produce white mana, which is interesting. That's why Evanescence Pilgrim is in the deck over something like Llanowar Elves. But basically, turn 1, you always want to have one of these, which allows you to jump the curve and go right to 3 drops on turn 2. And then this is where things get pretty nutty. You get Lingering Souls and Spectral Procession. So you get to start making tons of Flying Spirit tokens that are really hard to deal with. Or maybe the even bigger payoff, Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. Nissa, Voice of Zendikar is probably the most important card in the deck. One of the most important cards in the deck. You get multiple Anthem effects out of it, putting all those +1/+1 counters on your creatures. It also makes your 1-drop Mana Dorks much better because they actually gain power and can start attacking. It is just so good in this deck. It makes plant tokens, pumps up your team. So you're looking to go from the Mana Dork into one of these 3-drops. Raise the Alarm is kind of the backup plan. Ideally, you're going from 1 mana to 3 mana. If for some reason that doesn't work out, you can raise from the Alarm, instant speed, 2/1/1 White Soldier tokens. Definitely not as powerful as Spectral Procession or Lingering Souls, but still very, very strong. So you go from 1 to 3, and then you go up to 4, and the payoff at 4 is pretty massive. 4 copies of Gideon Ally of Zendikar. The Nissa's Gideon package is why this deck feels a lot like a standard White-Green Tokens deck. You're looking to do the same thing. The big payoff cards are the same in the Planeswalkers. The difference is you get much better token producers, and you get 1 mana Mana Dorks, which Standard doesn't have. So Gideon on turn 4, if things are not working on the Gideon axis, you get to take advantage of some of these lands on turn 4 or turn 5. You got the full 4 copies of Gavany Township, which is another way to pump up your team. It's easy to activate thanks to your Mana Dorks that you have on turn 1, and it just lets things get out of control really quickly. And remember, Gideon and Nissa, their abilities don't cost any mana, so in theory, you can have a Spectral Procession and in the first 3 or 4 turns, have 3 or 4 counters on those creatures between the Gideon emblem, Nissa ticking down, and Gavany Township. Windbrisk Heights is just value. When you attack with 3 or more creatures, you get to play the card hidden under it for only 1 white mana. There's no real combo to it. It's not like you're getting an Emrakul or something, but it's just really valuable. Allows you to cheat the mana costs on things and surprise the opponent. Rest of the deck, a bit of removal, Pass and Dismembers, and then the rest of the mana base. We got 8 fetches and Catacombs in Windswept Heath, some fetchable lands in Overgrown Tomb, Temple Garden, and Godless Shrine. So the black mana is just for flashing back Lingering Souls, but it's so easy to splash in Modern, why not? And then Plains, Forests, and 2 Horizon Canopies, the other non-basic. That lets you help if you flood out, generate a bit of card advantage there. The other thing that makes this deck awesome is you get to play a ton of great sideboard cards because white and green have some really, really bomby sideboard cards in Modern. So if you're playing an artifact-based deck like Affinity or Tron, Stony Silence and Creeping Corrosion, super powerful, potentially game-winning sideboard cards in those matchups. And then if you're playing against a Storm deck, Rule of Law, also game-winning. Players can only cast 1 spell each turn. Graftdigger's Cage, Collected Company decks, and Nahiri decks, like Grizzlebrand, and Reanimator decks, shuts down all of those. Another Haymaker sideboard card. Timely Reinforcements in Burrington Forge Tender, great against aggressive decks, burn decks, red decks. Forge Tender also protects all your tokens from Anger of the Gods, which can be an issue. And then 2 Gut Shots. I guess the idea is you might need a way to kill a Dark Confidant or something. Otherwise, I'm not really sure. That's the one sideboard card that struck me as odd. Anyway, that is White-Green Tokens for Modern. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed our White-Green Tokens Instant Deck Tech, and I will talk to you soon.